everybody, it's Jeff with Jeff's Jet Boat, and today we're going to go over how to pull your pump assembly apart. Super easy. Let's get to it. Okay guys, so it's a little windy today. It's mid-April here in Illinois, or Illinois as it's said. I'll go over and show you the tools that you're going to need to do this, show you how to take it apart, and go from there. Alright, so what you're going to need is you're going to need a 7/16 wrench, a 7/16 socket, maybe a 14mm wrench. What you'll need is a 14mm socket, an extension, and a ratchet. You only need this if you don't have this. And if you got a little cordless impact or whatever, you can do that too as well. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take off the steering linkage. If you see an S on mine, that's because I have all my parts marked starboard and port, just so I don't get them all interchanged. Not that it really matters, but here we go. So let's go ahead and we're gonna take this clevis off and go from there. Now, once you get this off, and pull that off, hold your finger underneath. You're gonna have a couple of these little bushings. And then what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take the whole thing, put it back together like so, set it up on the deck. Now, next thing we have to do is we have to release this, and it's going to be hard to see, but I'll show you once we have the thing off. There we go. So, I'll get the camera in there for you. So to release this, it's a spring-loaded mechanism. That's it. Take it with your finger, like with the edge of your fingernail. Slide it forward. This little ball drops out. Put it back on the same way. Now putting it back on is a little more difficult because you have to do that and put the ball on. So there we go. Alrighty. Next step. 1, 2, 3, 4. We need to remove these 4 bolts. They are metric, and that's what this 14mm is for. Now, I suggest breaking them loose with this first, and then you can use your electric whatever. That's it. Now, we have everything undone. So now all we need to do is pull this apart. Boom. Now mine came off like this. So yours can come off like this. And now you have the rest of it still in there. And there you go. So let's set this on the workbench. And again, it just comes right out of there. And there you go. And now you can see your wear wing. Now, why would you want to be able to do this? Well, maybe you suck up a piece of corn stalk that gets, I don't know, that gets trapped here on the impeller, like you see some people, and you can't clear it by hand. This is why you want to take that out, so you can do that. Super simple. So now I'll show you the pump. Okay, so now we got this damn thing apart. What do we do with it? Well, there's 2 things you want to do. Number 1, you want to look at it. You want to look at your impeller. Does it look beat? Does it look damaged? Nope, everything looks good. Okay, that's good. Now, the second thing is your cone. So we need to look, so what I'm doing today is I'm going to be putting grease in this because the old grease was kind of nasty. So I'm going to take the cone off, we're going to put some grease in it, and I'll show you how to do that real simple like. So again, this thing's metric. Everything on this boat is metric except for the parts that they use at the factory, like the clevis bolts for whatever reason. Makes no sense. Now, the type of grease that you're going to be using in this, and I'll put a link up, is this, what do they call it? Epnoc, E-P-N-O-C, jet pump grease. This is it. This is what you have to use. You can try something else. I don't know. I bought it. And then the other thing you're going to want to do, because if you're doing this and you're on it probably hasn't been apart, because I got a new O-ring as well, and I'll put the part number description. There's going to be an O-ring behind this. Now, again, there's really nothing to this. It's 3 screws. It's a jet pump. It's a jet boat. It's not a Tesla. Let's see here. All right. Suction. Oh, look at that. So that's what's inside of it. Now, let's see if there's any water. Well, that's good. There's no water. Let's see if I can give you a close-up view of what it looks like on the inside. And there you go. Just some bearings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this cone and I'm going to pretty much just clean it out with my finger. And I'm going to put the new stuff in it. Now, there's one thing to remember. You got a bearing that sits here. You also have a bearing that sits here. Now, to get that bearing out, you got to take the impeller off. And actually, I don't know if you have to take the impeller off. I take that back. You don't. You have to loosen this nut right here. Of course, you got to clamp this. You got to hold that. You got to hold this piece here. Loosen that nut. And this will come out. I'm not going that far today. I'm just going to grease this up and just put some fresh grease in there. So let's get to that. Okay, so I got the old stuff out. All I did is take my finger. That was it. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some WD-40 green Scotch Brite pad, and I'm just going to clean this surface up. I mean, it's pretty smooth, but just to clean it up a little bit. What I'm going to do is do a little of that. And I'm doing that, just like I said, to get a good seal. And again, the seal, it seals in here. So when we're all done, like I said, that seal is actually inside of there. We're just gonna give that a good wipe. And of course, where that seal was, it looks all nice and smooth. And we're gonna get our fluid on there. We are going to pop the top, chink. So let's see what this stuff looks like first of all. I'm curious. All right, so I'll give you a comparison. This is what came out. Looks like a snot booger. That's what's going in. Now, runny, they're both about honestly the same runniness. If that makes a difference. And I did get one of these for each engine, for each pump. So again, first thing we're going to do is fill that up. In the manual it says to do it about 2/3. Cool, 2/3 full. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm just going to, I don't know if I can do this. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can. There we go. And then I'm going to take this and I'm just going to just kind of squeezing it into them bearings. Yeah. It's grease. I mean, Jesus. Not that big deal. We got her though. And last but not least, new O-ring. There we go. Take this, boom. And actually, I'm gonna grab a little bit of my Epnoc, whatever you want to call it, stuff, excuse me, PG-13, right? And we'll take some and we'll just on a blind hole. You don't want grease and shit in there. You don't want anything in there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna blow a little air in there. There we go. On a blind hole, you just want to get all that junk out of there. I can tell you that. Okay, everything's ready to go back on. There you go. And pumps and engines and things in my life where I can tell you just about where the shear point is. And there you go. So there you go. We've re-greased that, put a new seal on, hang on to my old seal just in case, you never know. Okay, so now that we got the cone done, the next thing we need to do is we're going to take a look at the wear ring. And what I use for that wear ring again, Scotch-Brite pad, WD-40. This is all you need, man. We're gonna come over here. I'm going to spray my WD-40 along here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go like that. I'm gonna try to go in the direction that the machine marks are, and I'm gonna clean it up. I'm also gonna clean up this surface right here, and as you can tell, I've already done this side. Bling bling. So let's get that done, and then once that is also done, I'm just going to give the same little thing to this as well. So this right here is where the nozzle connects to. So we'll just give that a little bit of a cleaning. And then on the back side where this goes on the wear ring. Now, there's a ton of discussion, and you can still see there's a slight little bit, this little pink sealer. Do not use RTV. Do not use RTV right here. You do not need to use anything. I have done 1,000 jet skis. I've had this boat. This is my fourth time doing this. From the factory, what they use, this red sealant, this is called an anaerobic sealant. What it does is this stuff dries in the absence of oxygen. Now, if you go to a GM dealership, this is what they use on the Duramaxes, on their cars. Best thing to do is to do nothing and just leave it clean and just smooth everything out, because these surfaces are machined so well that you do not need anything. You will not get any cavitation. Do not use RTV. If you don't believe me, go to the Wave Runner forums and ask all them, because it's the same setup on the Wave Runners. You don't need to do anything. It needs to be clean and clear of debris and smooth. Now, if you got gouges and shit in it, well then you're done anyway. It doesn't matter. So from the factory, they do use this stuff. Do not need it. It's overkill. My boat still goes 50 mile an hour. It's an 08 AR230. It's old, man. It's like 12 years old. So that's my 2 cents. So we're gonna get this all cleaned up. We'll get it put back on. Okay, so I've got my surfaces. I've got all my surfaces cleaned up. Here, and here. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check my water inlet screen. And the water inlet screen is right here. Just some 10mm bolts. Alrighty, so there it is. This is your screen. So this guy right here sits in there. Let me take the screws out first. Alrighty, so this comes off like this. Crunch. Sits in like that. Here's the hole right here, okay? There's actually one on both sides. And this is a little screen. So, this right here sits down like that. As the jet is running water out, the water is pushed into these holes, because you can see through there. See my, well, maybe not. There's my finger. So then the water is pushed into here, and then the water goes through a tube right there, and that gets forced through your wear ring into your engine. There are a couple seals. There's a seal here, and there's a seal on the back side. That water pressure is probably so strong that you probably don't even need a seal, but it's there. I always check this. I've never once found this to have any debris in it, but you know, if you live on a muddy lake, you might have sand. I don't know. I just check it. So then we'll put that back together. Another thing I'll do is I'll blow these holes out with compressed air just to get the junk out. So that's done. Next thing, come to my shaft, take my green Scotch-Brite, let's give it a little love, especially down here on the end. You see that? That right there? That's from the seal. Kid you not. That's from the seal that keeps water from going in past it. Just wears it out, man. But all should be good. We're gonna take that. Now, next thing we're gonna do is we're going to take just the tiniest little bit of grease, and we are just going to give it just a coon's hair amount, and I'm talking just a very little amount. Does not require a whole bunch of grease. And this just makes it easier, so when you pull it out next time, it just comes out easier, it won't be stuck. All right, so that is that. Now it's time to install. Okay, so one last thing before we do this. If you hear some kids yelling, it's mine. If you got a new wear ring and you want to replace your wear ring, the final step would be to pull out these 4 bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're the same 4 bolts, 14 millimeter. And then you're gonna have this little guy right here. I think that's either, I think that's a 10. It's like an indexing bolt, I believe. That's why that's there. This tube right here, that's where the water goes through into your boat, in case you're wondering. That's the water passage. So again, I'm gonna take my compressed air. I'm just gonna blow these holes out just to clear any debris out of them. And this sucker's gonna slide all the way through into there. And then we're gonna hook everything up, reverse order. Now, this is also a great time. Some people have a hard time identifying, they have noises or something when their engine's running. This is a perfect time. If you want to, you can fire these motors up without your pumps in. So for example, on my port side, I have an issue where I have had a little bit of like a metal sound, and I was like, well, is that my engine or is that my pump? Slide the pump out, fire it up, motor's purring. So it's a great way to tell, something to think about. So let's go ahead and we'll get this put in. Okay. Okay, so here we go. All you gotta do is line up the hole and stick it in. Now, if you're lucky, this will slide right in. What you may have to do, it's not a big deal, is you have to get underneath here and you have to grab onto the shaft so that you can turn it. And normally I do it like this. There we go. That's way easier. And you have to turn the shaft just a little bit to get the spline up. And there we go. And that's it. all of 2 seconds. So now we'll grab the nozzle, we'll put the nozzle on. And here's the nozzle. Now, in case you're wondering if you get everything lined up correctly or not, there are dowel pins. Do not lose them. You can order new ones, but that would suck. And there's dowel pins on both sides of this. That's it. So now we got that in there. What I would do is I would blow this out. Blow the holes out with compressed air. If you don't have an air compressor, then get a can of compressed air from a computer. Whatever you got to do. I don't know how people don't live without an air compressor, but that is just me. Alrighty. Next thing is we're going to thread our bolts in. 1, 2. Might just be easier. 3, 4. We're gonna start all these by hand or with a socket. Do not start them by hand with the damn impact gun. You will strip them out. And then we will tighten them up. And you definitely want to get them tight, but again, you don't want to strip them out. Okay, that's done. Okay, next thing is we're going to get this little ball onto this. This goes in the up position, and you're definitely going to put your bare hands. And so the first thing you want to do is push that back, get that up. I'm not gonna lie, this is kind of a pain in the ass, really. I mean, I don't know why it's... There we go. Ha! I lied, it's easy. Alrighty. And now that that's done, put the steering arm on. Now you have 2 ways. You can run the bolt down like this. You can do it backwards. Some people do it backwards because they say the nut can't come off. It doesn't matter. If that thing is coming off, there's probably a lot of water right here. It's gonna come off. Also, you definitely want to make sure that this lock nut, that was a bird. You definitely want to make sure that this lock nut, if it feels super loose, to get a new one, because you don't tighten this down until it's you know, slammed, because it's got to have some free play in order for everything to move, for this clevis to move properly. And just about like that, boom. And that is it. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, this is super simple stuff. If you keep a 14mm and a 7/16 on your boat, a couple wrenches, you know, if this happens to you on the water, I mean, honestly, if you could beach the thing, worst case, I don't know if I'd anchor. I don't know if I'd do it on the anchor, but if you had to do it, you could probably do this in the water if it was absolutely necessary. Or you keep them on your boat and you can put it back up on the trailer real quick and fix it. Either way, I hope this helped you guys. And thanks again. Please subscribe. Trying to get 1,000 subscribers, get some YouTube money. Woo! See ya.